to session 1.3. It's fantastic to have everybody here. Please be aware that the session will be recorded. I'm hoping Mark's going to do that so I don't have to look for the button, but I'll come back to that if I need to.
All good. Thanks, Kimberly. We're recording.
Thank you. We're going to ask that you keep your mics off until we get to the discussion component, which is the end. So we'll have 4 speakers in turn and then a Q&A session at the end for all of them. Before we move on to the presentations, I would like to do an acknowledgement of country. I pay my respects to First Nations elders past, present and emerging across the many lands where Charles Sturt University campuses, students and staff are located. In particular, I acknowledge the Wiradjuri, Ngunnawal, Gundungurra and Biripi peoples, and I also pay my respects to any First Nations colleagues in this session today. Okay. We have, as I said, 4 presentations today, followed by a Q&A of 15 minutes at the end. There will be a trendy slide to come up at the end for questions and another trendy slide for you to access your QR code to give us the feedback that I will request again at that point. So I'm going to stop sharing and get Amita to take the floor.
Excellent. Thank you. Let me just share my screen.
If I can get my sharing to turn off, we'll be happy.
Am I sharing the correct screen? Can you see my full screen? Okay, good. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so my name is Amita Krautlur. I'm an educational designer in Division of Learning and Teaching. Today, I'm presenting on this topic, Global Citizenship in Regional Contexts, assessing the internationalization of curriculum within the subject in Faculty of Arts and Education. Okay, so a little bit of background. So internationalization and internationalization of curriculum in higher education concepts have been around for decades. And we have seen these implemented through, recruitment of international students, opening of overseas campuses, outward mobility programs. However, over time, the focus has shifted from these initiatives to making it a central part of a university's mission. The outcome of this has been the development of, graduate attributes by universities to committed to developing global citizens. What universities are committed to is to ensure that their graduates not only have the discipline knowledge that is technical knowledge relevant for their discipline, but also have a broader understanding of global issues, diverse cultures, and ethical responsibilities when working in a globalized world. At Charles Sturt, too, as you all know, we are committed to developing global citizens as one of our key graduate learning outcomes. So the aim of this research project was to assess the level of internationalization within the subjects in Faculty of Arts and Education. The objective was to assess and eventually improve the quality of education being delivered by investigating the experiences of academics and students using 2 research questions. Now, there's also, I just want to focus on the context of the unique nature of our students in the next slide. So the 2 research questions, the first one focused on the experiences of staff in relation to the internationalized curriculum and how they facilitated engagement within an internationalized classroom. The second research question focused on the students' experience of an internationalized curriculum and how they experience engagement with their diverse peers. So a mixed method research project was established 2-year long to collect feedback from staff and students using survey and interviews. Ethics approval was received for this project in 2022. So before going into the data collection, just a quick slide here to remind the unique demographics of our students at Charles Sturt. And I know you're all familiar, so only a few highlights. This covers the cohort in first session 2023, and the numbers might change a little bit, but they don't change very vastly. So as you can see, the median age of our students is 25, ranging from a minimum of 17 to a maximum of 88. We have 71% female students, with about 15% being from low socioeconomic background. 90% of our students are domestic students, 46% regional and remote, and 55% students first in family, and 80% online students. So this is a very unique cohort that we have, being a regional university. And it was important to investigate the views of our students to see what their views were about internationalized curriculum, or whether it is something just meant for metropolitan students, yeah, not for regional. So that was the other underlying context as well. So the surveys were deployed between September 2022 to July 2023. The academic survey received 40 responses, and on closer inspection, it was deemed that only 23 were complete. The student survey received 77 responses, of which only 53 were deemed complete. 6 academic staff and 7 students were interviewed via Zoom. And to continue with the thematic analysis, only completed survey responses were used. So analyzing doing the thematic analysis of academics' responses through the interviews, the first major theme that emerged from that was the importance of curriculum design. And this was irrespective of the academic school within the faculty or their academic level. The academics shared their experiences and attempts at including diverse perspectives within their subjects, but did concede that they were a bit isolated and inconsistent throughout the curriculum. So they encouraged or recommended intentional approach to curriculum design rather than add-on approach, to ensure that all aspects of the curriculum encompass the goal of internationalization. The second key theme that emerged from the academic responses was the professional development of academic staff. Academics actually were very open, sharing their challenges of even knowing what a successful internationalized classroom looked like, where to find resources, who to talk to. So they were keen on doing it, but they didn't know how to go about it. It was very interesting to match this with the data collected through the survey, which clearly shows 78% of the academics did not hold a qualification from overseas. 87% did not hold any teaching or research position with an overseas institution. 78% of our academics did not possess language skills in other than English. And majority of the staff had not applied for grant or held a scholarship position, or even working on a collaborative project with an overseas institution. So that kind of matches what the struggles were based on. When it came to students' responses, it was clear that students really placed high value on internationalized curriculum. They did share their experiences of their subjects where there were attempts made to include diverse perspectives, but these were still coming from English-speaking countries like Canada or other European countries. So they were expressing frustration that they wanted to see perspectives beyond English-speaking countries. They also were very keen to see, steer away from traditional assessment and wanted to see more authentic assessments that would be representative of their future professions. And they also hope to have some flexibility to align their learning to their personal and professional goals. Now, this feedback was also, again, independent of the students' school within the faculty and their level of study. The second key theme that emerged from the student feedback was also about the importance of developing intercultural competency. It was really interesting to see how much value students placed on that to succeed in a globalized workplace. So, and also it is very interesting to see that 87% of the students surveyed were domestic students, which aligns with our student profile. and 91% of the students came from English-speaking countries. They were really looking for opportunities to work with peers from diverse backgrounds. And this aligns with our cohort and also to the themes that were raised in yesterday's keynote panel as well. The other key theme that emerged from this from both academic and student side was the challenge of integrating online students. So from academics point of view, the challenge of creating meaningful interaction for online students because of their irregular attendance and participation. From students' point of view, they felt it was missed opportunity to connect with their peers from diverse backgrounds. And some of the students also lamented at the high level of homogeneity in their classrooms. So as an outcome of this research project, it was clear that attempts were being made to internationalize the curriculum. However, these were a bit ad hoc and inconsistent, impacting the student experience. So based on the feedback received from the academics and students, 3 key opportunities are presented here that we should take on board to internationalize our curriculum moving forward. So obviously, first one is the curriculum design because it underpins everything. And like the academic said, it should be intentional approach to curriculum design where internationalization is a central part and focus of the design process so that, content, assessment, learning activities, everything aligns perfectly. The second one is professional development of academics. And this could be achieved through establishment of communities of practice, resources, exemplars, industry benchmarks, but even opportunities by offering academics to expand their teaching, learning, and research activities to overseas universities, maybe by using pay and incentives. And the third one is the intercultural competency of students, by embedding diverse perspectives within the curriculum, organizing meaningful interaction with diverse peers of diverse backgrounds, and by learning second language. So in conclusion, helping our students to live and work effectively in a globalized world has become a necessity for 21st century graduates. It's no more a question of choice. The findings from this research project align closely with the theme of internationalization at home, which is a subset of internationalization of curriculum, which promotes the approach where all staff and students adopt an international approach because not all students go overseas to expand their horizons. By doing this, we will be supporting our students to become global citizens. It will enhance our students' experience and, of course, their employment opportunities. And the flow-on effect of this would be enhancement of the reputation of the university and its ability to attract diverse cohort of international students to the university. Thank you.
Beautifully timed, thank you. We're going to hold the questions over to the end, and up next is Bismarck.
All right, I hope my screen is visible. Can you please see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So my name is Bismarck. Yeah, my name is Bismarck, lecturer in medical radiation science, and this morning I'll be presenting on behalf of my other colleagues from Wagga campus and Port Macquarie campus on the role of soft skills in medical radiation sciences. I'll start my presentation with this very important quote. The following Friday, I managed to secure a booking for a CT scan. As a radiographer myself, I knew what to expect, but that knowledge did little to quell my fears. This was my first CT scan ever. When I arrived at the imaging center, the radiographer recognized me and said, "You know the drill then. Hop on the table when you're ready." Although familiar with the process, I felt unsettled by the casual approach. Reflecting on this later, I realized it lacked the empathy and consideration that are so crucial in patient care. Now, this is a very strong statement coming from a medical radiation science academic who found himself on the other side of the fence, this time round, not as an academic or a practitioner, but as a patient. And from this, we can argue that there is more required in effective patient care than just technical skills. So what are soft skills then? Soft skills are the non-technical interpersonal skills that influence how professionals interact with patients, colleagues, and the multidisciplinary team. Unlike technical skills, which focus on the mastery of specific tasks or equipment, soft skills address the human and relational aspect of healthcare delivery. Now, in the context of medical radiation science, soft skills play a crucial role in addressing patient needs. They enhance collaboration within the healthcare team and improve the overall patient experience. Despite their importance, there is still a gap in understanding how soft skills are taught, applied, and valued within medical radiation science education and practice. So we sought out to investigate the role, significance, and teaching strategies of soft skills in medical radiation science practice and education. We conducted a scoping review where we reviewed key literature across three main databases, literature that was published within 2014 and 2023. We had 6,231 articles screened, of which 25 were included in the final data analysis. If you look at the country distribution, out of the 25, 6 were from Australia, which happened to be the highest. Surprisingly, only 1 out of the 6 primarily focused on students with a sample size of 8, suggesting that much might not have been done in the areas of education when it comes to soft skills. And it is therefore unknown if the various training curricula in Australia in terms of medical radiation science embeds soft skills, and if so, what are their measured impact on students' outcome? So various soft skills were identified. Here amongst them were communication, empathy, care, and then also emotional intelligence. Effective communication is known to improve patient interactions. It builds trust and alleviates anxiety, and also ensures patient cooperation. If you look at the 3 images, especially the second one, you can clearly tell that the patient is more or less lost in thought. You wonder what she is thinking about, compared to the third one, which is in sharp contrast to the second one. You can see the patient beaming with smile, and this helps foster some kind of trust between the practitioner and the patient. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings, perspectives, and experiences of others. It is linked to patient care and also enhances patient trust and satisfaction. Empathy can be demonstrated through active listening. And whenever you are empathetic towards your patient, the patient tends to feel part of the healthcare management process. Teamwork is also essential for efficient workflow and high-quality patient care. When there is teamwork among the team, it reduces errors and also enhances productivity. If you look at the impact of soft skills on patient care, just like a tripod stand, patient care is definitely going to be hindered when soft skills is absent. And so in order to achieve effective patient care, we need not only look at the technical skills, but also we need to be intentional in incorporating soft skills in our teaching strategies or our various curriculum. We then analyze the various educational strategies that are used in teaching soft skills in medical radiation science education and practice. And key amongst them was workshop, which happened to be the highest, and then also video demonstrations as well as simulation. There were other minor ones such as drama, role play, and then clinical reasoning model as part of the curriculum. Now, some insight from the study that has been integrated in my personal teaching. Yes, so following the findings of the study, what I tend to do now is I try to emphasize on soft skills and teamwork in class discussions, and then also practical sessions when the opportunity avails itself. Also, I try to use case-based learning, which focuses on soft skills application, and then also try to encourage collaborative projects among students to foster teamwork. And then with that, that is very key in terms of the assessment. If you look at the various subjects within the medical radiation science curriculum, most of the subjects do have a group project or group assessment task, and all of them are geared towards enhancing or encouraging teamwork among the students. How then can we measure the impact of these soft skills on our students? Of course, as of now, we've not conducted any scientific study to measure the impact of soft skills on our students' outcome. But then, if you want to do that, we can measure this impact from student surveys, such as surveys or reflective essays to gather insight on student experiences. We can also, through skills assessment, practical evaluation, and peer reviews to measure soft skill development, and then we can use the peer feedback to refine these interactions. Also, we can do that by reviewing student outcomes. We can review student engagement levels, and then also clinical placement feedback. From personal experience, yes, incorporating soft skills in traditionally technical subjects could be challenging, but then if we're able to do it and do it very well, you tend to observe a marked improvement in student communication and empathy during clinical placement, and then you tend to witness a positive shift in student attitudes towards patient-centered care. How then do we integrate soft skills training in medical radiation science education? We can do that through workshops and simulations that focuses on soft skills using real-life scenarios in medical radiation science practice. Also by introducing role-playing exercises where students act as practitioners and patients to foster an understanding of patient perspectives. Also, students can be assigned reflective journals or essays where they analyze their interactions with patients and identify areas for improvement. And then also we can do that through the creation of joint learning activities with students from other healthcare disciplines such as the nursing, dentistry, among others, to stimulate teamwork within a healthcare environment. Some recommendations for enhancing student outcome. In terms of curriculum development, there is the need to be intentional in integrating soft skills training directly into technical subjects, ensuring that students see their practical relevance before they move to the clinical field. Also, in terms of assessment techniques, there's the need to develop rubrics that assess soft skills during practical exams and clinical placement. We can include components like communication, teamwork, and problem solving in the grading criteria. And then it is also very important to collaborate with industry partners to provide real-life training in soft skills during clinical placement for our students. So to conclude, soft skills play a very essential role in delivering holistic patient care in medical radiation science. There is the need for diverse training approaches which can be used to enhance students and radiographers' competencies and also promote a supportive work environment. It is important that we become very intentional in integrating soft skills training into our curriculum, which will be vital for achieving effective interdisciplinary collaboration and improvement in terms of patient outcome, all of which geared towards enhancing effective patient-centered care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, very well timed. Doing well on that front, so that's good. One less thing that we're stressing over. And presentation 3 is from Lucia about learning and teaching through international research. Oh.
Yes, thank you. We will just get the slideshow. Yes. So welcome to this presentation on learning and teaching in regional universities through international research partnerships. My co-presenters today are Alan Neha and Alfred Wong, and we acknowledge Mark Peter here in that image. From our partnership university, the University of Applied Sciences and Arts in Northwestern Switzerland. So this presentation aligns very well with the first one we have seen from Amita. Next slide, please. So we explain to you now the case study of 2 regional universities, CSU and the University in Switzerland, and how our collaborative research can contribute to learning and teaching in the digital transformation of work, can support student engagement in cross-cultural contexts, and can increase employability of our graduates, particularly in regional areas. So this case study leads to our research to learning and teaching approach, which will be outlined in the second part of this presentation. And finally, we will discuss possible further developments. So it all began with a book chapter co-authored by two researchers, one from CSU and one from the university in Switzerland in 2020. The chapter was about the digital transformation of workplace settings and focused on very small enterprises in regional communities. And that collaboration was the start of our digitalization and internationalization research group as a foundation for our international partnership. Now over to you, Alain.
Thank you very much, Lucia. And I will get straight away move forward into how our module that we have developed will emerge. Now it just, yes, here it is. So firstly, we started at the very sort of personal relationship amongst academics that we had, and emerged through a collaboration and into a partnership, which will inform then the module. But basically here is to demonstrate how organically and also dynamically this collaboration and partnership emerged. So it started all with research, and this research, as demonstrated here in the first picture, also included, for example, presentation at well-acknowledged organizations, for example, at the International Labour Organization, where we had the opportunity here to stand in a row of all the nation's flags. And of course, we also found our Australian flag here. Then our research informed also our teaching. So all what we found in our studies had some impacts into our subjects. For example, we used them in different areas. However, we also had requests from students at the Swiss university to conduct also research which informed their bachelor studies. So there were interviews conducted with them. And along these lines, and that's also linking back to what Amita said before, it really contributes to our international collaboration, which again also strengthens then further research. So based on this, we developed a module, a 4-step model. The slides always have a bit of a lag, so hopefully it will come. Yeah, here it is. So first we demonstrate the model that we developed, and then we also combine it or align it with the scholarly environment model, the SEM model that we use at Charles III University. So as mentioned, first we built the relationship, or we started with the personal relationship, went into a collaboration and partnership, and then research. So the first 2 points, they really bounce back and forth. And as you can see, the whole module actually is also very iterative. So once we went the steps through 1 and 2, we also informed our research into the learning and teaching, into our subjects that we had, that we have some in marketing, in HR, and also in management. So we conducted face-to-face and also online meetings at each other's universities. And based on these interactions with students, but also academics who attended these sessions, we got feedback that also helped us in a few instances also again to inform our next research, next level of research. So combining that now with the SEM model that we have in Charles III University, so it aligns very well with the professional and scholar competencies that we have amongst these partnership. which started with with the professional partnership and collaboration, and then into professional and scholarly partnership. And then the next one, the second step, and aligns also very well with the second and third one of the SCM models. So we not only conducted peer-reviewed or created peer-reviewed publications, we also had non-peer-reviewed. We had white papers that then we further developed into research papers and conference publications. Then the first step of the SCM model was actually informing our curriculum. Here it comes. So as mentioned, in HR, in management and marketing, we integrated our research aspects into the subject curriculum and also adapted it to keep it current with our newest research that we conducted. And lastly, and that's the fifth point in the SCM model, we have also advanced scholarship in terms of all our, or the whole group, or the whole partnership are also adjuncts at each other's universities, which then also covers these advisory roles that we have in place at both universities through the membership of this partnership. That brings me now to the discussion and conclusion, and for this I will hand over now to Alfred, who will continue. Thank you, Alfred.
Thank you to my fellow presenters, Lucia and Elaine. Our four-step cycle model aligns with TEXAR, which requires research outputs to be at the world standard for Australian universities. Furthermore, collaborating with scholars from other universities extends personal learning networks, and that can help inform teaching quality, fostering motivation and research excellence. Also, international teaching partnership provides opportunities for cross-cultural learning and contributes to preparing our students to meet the graduate learning outcomes of global citizenship that was presented earlier on. These activities will in turn enrich students' learning experience. Our research partnership has shown that digital transformation of micro, small, medium enterprises can be directly linked to global markets. In a similar way, digital affordances through our dual partnership of research and teaching innovations enable business students from regional universities to participate as global citizens through their studies. As an interesting aside, the top right image is the FHNW campus in Switzerland, and the one below is the CSU Wagga campus. So apart from our academic partnership, we can also see a visual link between the Swiss and the CSU campus. In conclusion, while our research partnership demonstrates an exemplary case of the four-step cycle model, it is worth further investigating to what extent the model is transferable to other regional universities in Australia in order to facilitate the creation of a strong and trustful research partnership that will eventually serve as a foundation for learning and teaching practices and cross-cultural student experiences. And that's all from me, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, team. So if you are coming up with questions as you're seeing these, please pop them into the chat so that we can find them easily at the end when we come to the Q&A section. And our final presenter for this session is Claire, who hopefully will start sharing her screen. Awesome.
Hi everyone, for those who know Claire, they know that that's not me. My name is Lauren Iflin and I'm an educational designer from the Division of Learning and Teaching. I'm joining today from the southernmost part of Wiradjuri land in Albury. Although Claire, seeing lecturer in medical radiation science, is the integral force behind today's presentation, she's unable to join today and has left you in my capable hands. It's really fitting that this year's theme for CSEdX is radical reimagination, as this phrase captures our work well. Let's start with some context on how this process began. Similar to Bismarck's presentation, Claire, the subject convener, had concerns for students heading out into the workplace. She reached out to our team for support with a subject that had it all: workplace learning, requirements from an external regulatory body, an interactive oral assessment, and alarmingly, students who were not engaging in the content required of them to safely participate in their placement. Hence the name Nice to Know versus Need to Know, tackling disengagement so students don't cause harm with clinically vital content. Our first step was to take a close look at the problem areas and the feedback provided for the subject. This review helped us pinpoint the issues and set a clear vision for the subject, ensuring that all clinically vital content and the MRPBA requirements were met. In the initial phases, all aspects of the subjects were reviewed: content structure and delivery methods, assessment, subject syllabus, and subject learning outcomes. We began this process with long meetings where we discussed these at detail, at length, from the academics perspective, from a DLT, educational designer's perspective, and for what students were experiencing. From here, we worked on the learning outcomes, made sure that they were reviewed and mapped to assessments, content, and the requirements mandated from the MRPBA. We began to start setting up the topic structure and design. This plan involved several key elements that shifted the delivery of the subject to be an engaging, self-paced experience for students. The biggest shift was creating a schedule that did not follow a traditional weekly pattern. This worked through a mini quiz at the end of each topic that was set to conditionally release the next topic for students. We also used the checklists functionality within Brightspace at the start and end of each topic to support understanding of the learning objectives and make those visible within the subject for students to understand which content was meeting which objectives was meeting, how they were able to meet those subject learning outcomes and requirements. We also scattered interactive components throughout the content to allow students as many chances to check their knowledge before placement and their interactive oral through the lens of learning through doing. Once we'd set up our topics and design discussion, this enabled work to begin whilst we were still planning. So while Claire was still working on content and compiling these in Word documents, we were still able to play and test in the system how that would work and look for students. And this continued the provision and content and activities for students. Once the subject template was set up at a reasonable level, it still needed tweaking. With consideration and advice on the best tools to use, we began to discuss, build, and trial elements in an iterative process. This process involved comprehensive trialing release conditions, activities, quizzes, and content, allowing for modifications before student use. We held weekly progress check-ins that allowed us to formally track work and deadlines and discuss any action items in that iterative process. Informal contact through Teams was also used for on-the-spot discussions between Claire and myself. All design decisions in this step were underpinned by one key target: ensuring student engagement in the clinically vital content, so that the students that were in this subject were heading into their workplace learning, having engaged in that clinically vital content and providing that safe practice for all those in their care. Once set up, our work shifted to monitoring how students were using the site and working through the inevitable hiccups that a new system brings. Administering early communication to students was essential in ensuring a positive subject experience. This was achieved with expert, purposeful staff contact through announcement, intelligent agents, and an informative welcome module. It was an exciting start to the session when we used the class progress tool to check on student engagement and progress. We also customized this tool to identify students who had received unsatisfactory scores on quizzes and check on students who were known to skip through the content. Students were invited to voice any questions and concerns through multiple channels: the discussion forum, email to academic staff, insight surveys, and the opportunity to book a time with Claire to chat. Through this, we heard back about several bugs, including formatting errors, answer discrepancies in activities and quiz questions, which we were able to provide a fast response to, enhancing that student experience within the subject. A more serious bug was that while the first score on this quiz was needed for grading, the conditional release we had set did not allow access for students once they had passed the quiz on another attempt. We were able to achieve a workaround using the groups tool. Without going into too much detail, it was a less than ideal solution in which we needed to send improvement suggestions to the LMS team. This serves as a reminder to always check the release conditions capability before dreaming too big. By collating data from multiple sources and interacting with students, we closed our loop for the first run of this newly designed subject. We collected data from system use, insight surveys, and the student user experience survey, as well as informal interaction from students to celebrate what worked well and identify what comes next. So what went well for us was the workload, navigation, communication, and that shift to the self-paced nature of the subject. What comes next is increasing peer engagement and student motivation, and improving those scaffolding activities and opportunities that support student ability for the interactive oral assessment piece. Going through some of those evidence sources now, we can begin to see several trends that formed our next steps. The Brightspace survey, which was set to release when students had completed the content, was comprised of several Likert scale questions and 2 short response sections allowing for feedback. As you could see, navigation, self-paced learning, and communication and support rated highly, while the short answer responses highlighted actionable steps for further improvement, including providing a suggested timeline for completion and incorporating interaction between staff and peers. The survey that was open throughout the session similarly let us check in on students' understanding of the subject design and allowed for some more feedback during the session. The system access data showed that while access still peaked around that interactive oral assessment item, there was more consistent access logged across the weeks. And lastly, the student user experience data has shown steady growth in all areas in response over the years. While only a small response rate, it was a positive shift with significantly less poor rated areas. This highlighted the need for peer-to-peer interaction and peer-to-teacher interaction, which formed the areas of what comes next for us. The results and impact from our work in this was we developed a detailed knowledge of Brightspace systems and tools. I don't think there was a single button that we did not click. We've built an ongoing collegial relationship in which we'll continue to develop this subject and other subjects along the way. We've also proven the success in shifting away from those traditional weekly approaches of here's your lecture, here's your tutorial. Having that self-paced content did relate to the student experience, and we got positive feedback from that. The last result there is the creation of a sustainable subject. While this did take several not several, way more than several. While this took a substantial amount of workload for Claire to compile the content and for me to help with that in that iterative process of playing and testing with content, we have created a sustainable subject that will just need updating over the years. This in turn improves the academic presence. It allows the academic to have more time to spend on students in those live results, in those live sessions, all leading towards student confidence and ability in that clinically vital content, which was our goal at the beginning of this work. To finish up, I've left you on a nice diagram of our process that we followed. So step one, defining the problems to investigate user and subject needs to create an initial concept, then developing an action plan, exploring solution options, working to implement those through creation, discussion, and testing, monitoring, so adapting the solutions based on student communication and experience and what is happening within that subject, and then reviewing our evidence, what went well and what comes next. Thank you for your time. I'll stop sharing and I'll throw it back to you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everyone, for really great presentations. Our little prompt screen. Okay, I am checking the chat for questions. And if anybody would like to ask a question live, you should be able to come off mute and do that. In the meantime, I did have one question for Bismarck, if we could go back to that. So the vignette at the beginning around the clinician kind of not having, you know, fairly basic bedside manner reminded me of sort of 30 years ago when universities started to work out that perhaps some medical students were lacking in some of those communication skills, but the answer there seemed to be looking at the intake. So I think Newcastle Uni was the first to go to an interview system and others have followed suit. So that just made me wonder, do we believe that everybody can be taught soft skills? Like you're trying to deal with the students once they're there. In other fields, people have dealt with them almost before they come. So just thought that was interesting to see the two different approaches. Wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
I think that everybody can be taught soft skills because it's very integral to clinical practice, and research has also shown that about 75% of employee performance is focused on soft skills, and so it is something that we cannot do away without it. Of course, there are some students who are very jittery when it comes to communication and exhibiting some of these soft skills attributes. And that is why it's very important for us to be very intentional in integrating these into the curriculum so that the student will be able to grab it at a very early stage before they go out into the clinical environment. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, there's a rhetorical question there. What would we do without our EDs? I think the answer is we don't want to find out. Are there any other questions relating to today's presentations? You're not going to make me do all the work, are you guys? Come on.
Okay, I can ask one question.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question is to Lucia and team. That was very interesting, your project, and it was good timing to see that we align. But I wanted to know, like, the initiative, where does that come from? Like, if it was to be replicated, how easy is it for somebody to start that process? Or is there like a approach university-wide that we need to do more of this? I would really like to know more.
Thank you
Okay,
so
if I
much,
can jump
Amita.
here.
And I think we should also,
Oh,
yeah. Alan,
no,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to hand over to you, but I just wanted to say that maybe, Amita, there is an opportunity there also to sit together once and to see how your findings kind of can inform what we are doing, and how maybe what we are doing can inform what you are doing. So I'd like to hand over here to Alain, who was a great driver at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a good question, Amita. And as with many things, it starts with some personal relationship, professional relationship that you have, and then it emerges with like sort of the results that you have, and also the motivation that emerges. And maybe something I could have added as well is also the trust component, because the more you work together, the more you research together, you know that you have the trust in each other and the work into the work and into the person. And if you have that, and if you have also really the insights, and everyone is contributing from their side, it's really such a rewarding piece, and everyone motivates each other then to go for more. So this was really starting small and getting bigger. There are other aspects or approaches to try to start a partnership, but often I guess it's much harder to start formal, and much easier, and you can get further, in my view, if you start agile and organically, dynamically.
I agree with you, Elaine, because yeah, I can relate with that, because I'm coming from different country. We do have those connections that we can lean into, and that's kind of what feedback I was getting from academics who don't have that at all. They don't know where to start, and I think that's where they're looking for some support coming from, leadership, some framework where they can raise, put their hand up and just say they would be interested to try something. So that's kind of where I was coming from. But yeah, completely agree with what you said. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question.
Hey, are there other questions?
Yeah, sorry, can I ask a question? Yeah. Thank you all that, you mentioned this whole presentation address different aspects into the curriculum and enhancing how we can enhance and improve the curriculum in the international level specifically. Thank you all. Just a question for Lusha and the group. What was the main challenges that you had during this process? Because this, looking at the curriculum, working in this, process is very difficult, and I can imagine how much is difficult this process that collaborate with each other in order to establish this partnership. So what were the main challenges during this process?
Yes, maybe if I can start with this one. That's a good question. I think time is really the challenge. You have so many ideas, you want to do so much, and aligning the time with everyone's resources as well. Sometimes you have a bit more resources and someone else from the team doesn't have, and you have to sort of align or take over a bit, and then another time when that person has a bit more resources and takes over the lead. So it's really a collaborative way that you have to find out when you grow, and how also be respectful to each other and understanding if they can't just run when you are running, so that you have maybe to wait. Sometimes it's a bit sort of it makes you inside, you would like to move on, but you can't, but you have to just relax and go with the pace. And the more the group comes together, it gets also more dynamic, and you can share the load or the laugh, yeah, as you want to take it. That would be my, so time was really the one.
And if I may add, for example, the ILO presentation was in July, and in July it's summer holidays in Switzerland, so it would have been a great opportunity for us to go to the university and to do face-to-face interactions. We could have some, and we could have some meetings, but the students obviously at that point in time were not there. So we had mainly online teaching sessions with them. So again, this kind of timing that they are on another schedule, or they can be on another schedule.
If I may quickly just jump in, just to contribute, I think from what I think will be one of the key ingredients for this collaboration, not so much of a challenge, but I think the key is to make sure that both institutions, we are actually working on the learning and teaching as well as research from a mutual sort of benefit sort of basis. And setting that kind of expectation is important, and what to deliver and so forth, and to be able to be confident and be trustful of each other's work, and to make sure that deliverables actually come through. I think that foster that kind of team building, and that actually help the group grow over time. Thank you.
Thank you. We probably have time, yes, for one last question, and Amita's got a hand up, so it's her. Yay!
Cool. Okay, so I have one question for Lauren. And I want to say thanks, Lauren. That was great representation of, a partnership between academics and ADs in achieving the outcomes that you have showcased. What I wanted to know was, based on the work that you've done, and okay, that was for clinical subject, but I think there is a need for that in every subject, because there is vital content and there is, not so much vital content, but how easy do you think it's to replicate that with other subjects?
Thanks, Mita, for the great question and making me think even more. I think it's easy to replicate. However, each subject is unique. You've got to look at what students you've got, what they currently are achieving throughout their course and similar subjects that your subject is working with, and what is going to work with academic and how they work. So while this worked for Claire because having that self-paced content allowed her to come through and explain it or talk through it, it might not work for another academic. So it needs those conversations. And in this case, there were a lot of back and forth. Oh, what about this? Or have you tried this? Have you thought of this? So while it is easy to replicate and easy to start, having that, from both streams, that didactic approach of subject matter expert and educational designer really helped, because we came with two different perspectives.
Thank you so much. And I think you make some good points there. And I think the way I saw it was, the challenge that I posed in my presentation to do with online students. I think at least we can make sure they're getting through the vital content at their own pace. Like peer engagement is another issue. I think that would be really valuable. So thank you so much. You've given me a lot of food for thought.
Hey, thank you everyone for your active participation in the session today. I thought there were four great presentations, and it was lovely to see some real engagement and conversation happening at the end there. I would invite you to share your feedback on this session through the CSEdX feedback form. Hopefully you can see that QR code at the moment. We do actually take the feedback on board and use it in planning for future events. I am finishing off the session because Mark's screen is frozen. So our technical advisor has technical difficulties and we have rounded things out beautifully. I was having issues at the start. He's having them at the end. So there's a 15-minute break before the next session. So go and get caffeinated. I will now close this session. Once again, thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Great job.
Thank you.